So we've put together a string of curves, and we want to verify that those curves actually come together nice and cleanly. So we have a curve analysis tool that I want to use. Basically, you're showing combs on these curves. So I'm going to pick them all and go into curve analysis. And what this does is it basically shows combs. That's what this button is for as well. This is kind of a combination of these, but this also brings up this palette that allows you to adjust the combs. Now, what the combs represent are the curvature on those curves or the radius of curvature. One is good for showing big, flat, broad areas like the radius of curvature, whereas the curvature is for more the curved areas like tighter radii. It's good to switch between the two and verify that everything is working out. So I'll just turn on suggest scale factor once again, and it'll basically fit the combs, suggests the best factor. This is just the number of needles, how many needles are showing up. As you can see, if I don't have enough, it's kind of jagged. If I have the right amount, the envelope curve looks nice. If I have too many, this may slow your machine down. So you don't want to have too many, right? This is going to potentially cause you problems later on. So just make sure you get just enough to smooth out those envelope curves. Now, you have different projections. So if you're looking at a 3D curve, you can project things to a plane or along a specific vector to verify things look good in one direction. Sometimes you just have to verify in one direction. Let's say you're looking at the side of a car and you have a door opening. Well, the door opening isn't planar, but you want to verify that door opening or the curve that defines it looks good in that direction, not necessarily as it bends all around, because when somebody looks at it, they're looking at it from the one direction. So you have other options here. You can show the peak of the curve and you can show the inflections of the curve. And as far as points go, you can create points at the peak and inflection. Sometimes this is nice to know exactly where something's at. You may need to use it as a reference for future tools. Maybe you need to draw a line or whatever based off of one of those as a reference. Settings, this basically is showing you the needle direction. You have inside and outside. And again, calculation method is curvature, radius of curvature. These are just the label values. What I'm looking at as far as the min, max, and the value for those as well. So curvature, radius of curvature. And this is the actual needle in the direction. So for inside, outside, radius of curvature, and the scaling, linear or logarithmic. So sometimes you need to go to a logarithmic scaling to see it a little bit cleaner. I'm going to leave it just like this. I'm going to select OK. Now, as you can see here, these quills, they're not quite the same length, but they lay on top of one another. So this is telling me that's tangent. If I look at this one, these quills, they don't land on top of one another. They're not parallel. So it has a hard corner, or it's got a little break. And it's hard to see it with the plain old naked eye, but with this on there, that quill, that needle, it really shows it. This is a bridge curve. So if I double click on that bridge curve to make a modification, you can see there's my start, which is the other end, or my end. It's set to G0. And it's very subtle. So if I come over here and say, all right, I want this to be at flow, you'll notice across that boundary, I have a nicer transition. And then I can adjust what that looks like. You can see here. And then I can do the same thing for the start. Come over here, go to curvature. And once again, I can adjust what that looks like to really clean up and sweeten up those curves, make sure everything looks good. You may need to go in there and make a modification to the boundary curves, right, to get these to look just a certain way in order to make sure that bridge curve looks good. But that's really what that curve analysis, the show combs, the show peaks and inflections are for, to make sure that your curves look really good or really smooth. Because if your curves look good, chances are the surfaces you make from them look really good as well.